Okay.
All right, here we are once again, back at Cafe Zola, and I'm pleased to be here. I'm going to be reading the sequel to the Ghetto Sketches. The reason why I wrote a sequel is because there were some things that needed to be finished up, that needed to be tightened up. Some stories that were not completely told, I would finish up in the second book. This book, The Busting Out of an Ordinary Man.
Okay.
Is the glass of lemonade in your way?
It looks like wine to me, but yes, it was. Okay.
Wineade, lemonade.
Lemonade, gotcha. Okay, so that is...
This is the call, The Busting Out of an Ordinary Man. And let me get to a brief explanation as to how that came about.
Okay.
In 1972, that is way back in Neanderthal times, 1972, this book was published, Ghetto Sketches, by Holloway House, a small publishing company in Los Angeles that had enough sense to exploit a collection of African American writers, myself included, and they published Ghetto Sketches. I had a good agent at the time, and well, he says, well, what else can be done with it? Holloway House will do it. Holloway House did it. They had good distribution. The book has been in and out of print for several times at this point. I wrote a sequel to Ghetto Sketches, and the publisher decided that he didn't want to publish it under that particular title. It was supposed to be called Ghetto Sketches II. They didn't like that. He didn't like that. So for some reason, since they already had a title available, title cover available, they decided to make it The Busting Out of an Ordinary Man. For those of you who've had some jailhouse experience, I'm sure you know that the busting out of any man is not ordinary, and it certainly wouldn't serve as the sequel title to a novel called Ghetto Sketches. Once upon a time, long ago, I had many bones to pick with the publisher of Holloway House, the publisher. I won't mention his name, I don't have to. But I would like to dedicate this reading to those of us who survived the Holloway House experience. What Holloway House did was take advantage of us. I'm talking about specifically, I'll just name maybe 4 or 5 people. Donald Goins, the gangster that everybody loved, Iceberg Slim, Joe Nozell, and myself. We were the writers. I should include my friend Emory Holmes, who at one point was an editor at Holloway House. Holloway House had started a magazine called Players, and they picked the first editor was Wanda Coleman, very fine poet. She has passed now, bless her. And the political decision was made in order to have Players be received well by the black community or by the black males in the black community. They would choose a woman to say that, okay, we're not being chauvinistic or anything, but they didn't give Wanda very much of a play. She had very little power. Eventually, inevitably, they had to choose a man, and they chose Emory Holmes, who was a brother with enormous integrity and wanted to do something with the magazine that they hadn't thought about doing. They just simply wanted to have crack hole models semi-naked with garter belts, with garter belts of all things. That was Ralph Weinstock's idea, who has since passed, bless him.
Did they also have some decent models too? I gather you said a few that neighborhood people that you guys were surprised to see her then in the cover, but they were just trying to pay their rent.
Well, you just said it.
Okay.
All.
Okay.
Surprised. But there were no surprises there. We all knew what the deal was. The Holloway House Publishing Company offered a collection of African American writers who were writing in a certain genre. They call it urban lit. We were writing in a certain genre, and there were no other outlets really available to us anywhere in the United States. Maybe some small niche company way over there someplace. But Holloway House had really great distribution, and frankly, they had the attention of an audience that I wanted to reach, which was people who were imprisoned, incarcerated, members of my own family who were not given to reading Moby Dick and other big old fat novels like that. So they served a purpose, and we, in a sense, we fed on each other, except that I think they got the biggest slice of the pie because they handled the books, and to my knowledge, they had 3 or 4 sets. As a matter of fact, I did a little satire with my wife, Zola, a little satire in the kitchen with me cooking books in a wok, which was symbolic of what happened at Holloway House. And there's no denying it, that they did that. But that's history, and we're moving onward. I'm going to start reading the sequel to Ghetto Sketches, which has since been, as I said, renamed The Busting Out of an Ordinary Man. For those who've been following the readings previous to this one, they will know that Kwendi and Lubertha, who were founding members of the workshop that they were in, had found themselves fleeing from the police. I picture Lubertha as a sort of a latter-day Angela Davis. Kwendi would be Geronimo Pratt. And it starts off with a letter that Lubertha is writing to Kwendi, who's in jail. My dearest Kwendi, I hope you're past your depression now. Your last letter bothered me very much. I almost feel ashamed sometimes to admit that my love for you is so great, so profoundly tuned to what goes through you, that the vibe from your letter told me that you were about to do something uncool. Please, baby, don't. You know how badly they want to wipe your strong, beautiful black ass away. Kwendi, seriously, don't do anything that would foul you up. The lawyers are doing all they can. Your defense money is steadily coming in. People have become more concerned and aware of how rank the shit is here. Like yesterday it was you, tomorrow it might be anyone, even one of the apathetic ones. At any rate, all I'm saying is that I love you, googobs. I miss you, and in order for us to ever be together again, to fight the battles with this crazy, weird, hypocritical, racist-ass society that we know have to be fought to make the sweet black babies we've been talking about through that screen for the last 5 years, to do anything we've planned, then you must be alive. You know they want to kill you, baby. You know that. And all they need is any kind of excuse, any kind. I'm not trying to tell you to submit to anything, to be less than the man you are, or anything like that. I just want you to be cool and be careful. Kwendi, I love you so much. because we both decided a long time ago that we would be fair and honest with each other about our feelings. I don't feel any need to hold back to conceal this terrible hunger I feel inside for you. Maybe the season has something to do with it. Fall always makes me feel more nostalgic than usual. I took a walk in the park yesterday in search of some leaves to kick around, and spent an hour going through as many moments in our relationship as I could remember. Kwendi, I love you so much. The feeling gushes up in me so strong at times that I feel almost like I felt the first time we made love. Remember me, baby? The 18-year-old innocent that you didn't want to make love to because you thought it would be too heavy a scene for my head. Remember? I laugh out loud sometimes thinking about us two dumb 18-year-old fools who almost respected each other to death. You were afraid to seduce a sister because you felt that might be considered counter-revolutionary or some such thing, and me with my stupid self almost letting you get away with it. Just think, if we had known what was going to go down, we would have been a lot less careful, and maybe I would have your child now. Kwendi, I miss you so much. I feel so distracted, so alone at times. I'm taking care of maximum business in every direction, feeling strong. But the thought that my lover, my man, is locked away from me weighs me down sometimes. But who in the hell am I to complain? Many sisters might hesitate, I think, to write the man in their lives a letter like this, especially for you in the joint. I'm not now, nor do I think I could ever be that image-ridden sister who refuses to let her carefully arranged afro mask fall away, telling herself, being rational, that her man only wants to hear nothing but the safe, pleasant, groovy things. Emotionally, we're both in prison, and I can't help spilling my guts out to the only person in the world who understands me. As a writer, when I write it out to you, spell words, say to my dearest, dearest Kwendi, darling, I love you, and know that you, as a fellow writer, as my man, will find more than anyone else could hope to find in those 3 words. When I can do that, it makes my nights more bearable. I'm carrying on our people's work as best I can without you. Ojin Kasi, Abdul, Nisi, Maisha, and a few others remain the strong, hard core. The others remain more or less constant. The main problem we have is lack of leadership. I know what you're going to say in your next letter, that we should be all leaders, but for some reason it just doesn't quite work out that way. The theater section of the group has started a thing they call GD, getting down. And it's been given a good response by the community. Several other projects are working out quite well also. I'll tell you more about them on visiting day. Does it seem strange to you that yesterday we were 18 and now we're both 23? Time seems to stand still or pass itself by. I'm afraid I must end this one now, leaving so much unsaid that we may need another lifetime to cover half of it. But it doesn't matter. My spirits are high and my love is strong. With all of my best love, Lubertha, your Kush. P.S. I'm sure you've heard about Baby June, but you'd have to see him to really believe the change. Unreal. Monday evening, the dreariest day of the week anywhere, but especially in the African American ghetto. People, having taken hangovers and other symptoms of a fast weekend to their individual sections of the plantations around town, return the weight of 4 more days and maybe 5 of clock punching and lock stepping ahead of them before the eagle flies. Mrs. Nelda Washington, better known as the Big Mama, shuffled her elbows, recrossed her arms, and spat into the Maxwell coffeehouse can at her feet. Barely paying any attention to the receptacle, being so certain of her aim, and turned full attention back to the people passing back and forth on the sidewalk in front of her. She knew them all, some since babyhood. Lubertha, on her way to the mailbox with another letter to, what was that boy's name? Kwendi, Kwanjo, something like that. Shame that they threw him away in jail like that. Hi, Big Mama, how you doing? Big Mama shot another swift stream of snuff juice into the can before answering, slowly, as was her habit. Oh, I don't know, Lubertha, passable, I guess. With the Lord's blessings, I live. Well, you take it easy. I'm going down to the corner. You want anything? Oh, can't say that I do, daughter. Just now. Bessie promised to bring me some snuff when she got home. Thanks anyway. Lubertha waved and kept on, her head held high, her steps straight. Big Mama studied her movement for a few steps, recalling the Lubertha Franklin she knew from 5 years back. Lord have mercy. Sin and the shame, the things that happen to people. Girl can't be but 20, 22 at the most. She got all them hard lines around her mouth like a woman 30. Well, I guess that's what happens when you lose your man. She sighed deeply and nodded to a strange face that happened to look up and see her. The face, surprised at the neighborly gesture, frowned and picked up his pace. Funny how much afraid people's is when you try to be friendly. Big Mama shivered, looked up at the narrow patch of gray sky that hung over her street, and at that moment thought about her husband. Wonder if Booker went to heaven. No, not likely. Not much hell as that man raised. Thought he was the greatest thing in pants, with his moonshine and his sly ways and all that pride he had because his daddy had named him Booker after Booker T. Washington. Another autumn breeze eased through, bringing goose pimples out on her fleshy arms. She spat again and pulled her sweater a little tighter around her shoulders, her mind slipping away from her dead husband, dead for 12 years, to the thought of the hard winter she saw ahead and the clouds above. She stood up slowly, a darker version of Ethel Waters, bracing her hands on her arthritic hips as she prepared to close down her window. During all seasons, Big Mama sat in the spring, summer, and early fall on the top level of the stone porch jutting out from her apartment building. In the late fall and winter, behind the glass pane, seeing and taking everything in. She closed the window, a can of soup and some crackers already prepared mentally, and stood at the window for a minute, her knuckles pressed down on the window ledge as she watched Baby June stride up the street selling a Muslim newspaper, the Bilalian. Baby June! Yes, ma'am! He answers as though in cue, turning her way with fluid quickness. Bring me one of them. Baby June smiled slightly as he tripped up the stone steps of the porch, a paper already folded and held out for delivery. Here you are, Sister Washington. Big Mama reached out for the paper with her left hand as she fumbled down into her apron pocket with her right. There's no charge for you, Sister Washington. Well, thank you, Robert. Lord, I just can't remember to call you nothing but Baby June. Oh, that's quite all right, Sister Washington, quite all right. Big Mama smiled at Robert 30X. formerly called Baby June in his dope fiend salad days, feeling a maternal pride in his super neatness. Too bad Sister Sadie didn't live long enough to see the change happen, Big Mama thought. Robert 30X stood at respectful attention, his heels together, his feet spread at a precise 35-degree angle. Thanks again, Robert. I'm going to read this with my mind open, just like you asked me to do. I appreciate that, Sister Washington. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that only an open mind is ready for the truth. And please remember the offer I made to you about attending services in the mosque. It's still open. All you have to do is just let me know when you'd like to go, and we'll have a car pick you up and bring you back. That'd be really nice, Bobby, really nice. As soon as I feel a little bit better, I just might go on over there. Anytime, Sister Washington, anytime. Robert 30X sang out as he bowed slightly in the direction and skipped away down the steps to intercept Lubertha returning from the mailbox. Big Mama closed the window again, watching Robert 30X match Lubertha stride for stride as she dug down into her jeans for the price of a paper. She lowered her shade and pulled the old heavily brocaded curtains together and shuffled away from the window, fumbling to put her reading glasses on, hung on a string around her neck, placed the paper on her all-purpose kitchen table. Opening a can of chicken noodle soup, counting out 5 saltine crackers, and measuring a short glass of milk into a tall mason jar, she read aloud the headline of the paper. "Raise your own food, black man!" And that's where I'm going to stop in the middle of chapter 1. We will continue chapter 1 tomorrow at the same time. What I'm doing is giving some of the people who've been following us a chance to catch up with where we are.
Okay.
And what can I say? It's a rainy day in LA.
All right, so you ended on page 12?
For those who might have a book, because this is not out of print, page 34.
34, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. 15.
Okay,
Without
all
my
right.
glasses. The one looked like a 3.
Okay.
So it's page 15.
Page 15
of
The Busting Out of Ordinary Man, which should have been titled Ghetto Sketches II. The book can be purchased at iUniverse, or you can buy it online at Barnes & Noble or Amazon. Odie Hawkins' website is www.odiehawkins.com, where you can see a list of his other books. And thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome.
I'll see you tomorrow evening.
This is so true. Right here. Ciao.